In the far reaches of the universe, where stars twinkled like distant diamonds, humanity had become a curious sort of sanctuary. Many civilizations thrived among the galaxies, boasting advanced technology and vast empires. Yet, one by one, they turned their backs on humanity. It all began with a series of misunderstandings and accidents that branded humans as reckless. On Earth, a woman named Alara worked tirelessly in a lab. She was one of the smartest scientists on the planet, studying wormholes and interstellar travel. The day she discovered a way to harness energy from stars was a day of great excitement. With her team, she planned to send a probe through a newly formed wormhole. Alara believed it could lead to new resources for Earth and perhaps contact with other worlds. Unbeknownst to her, a powerful alien race called the ZYNTHS was observing Earth. The ZYNTHS had their own advanced technology, but they valued peace and their way of life. They viewed the human race as chaotic, uncertain, and a threat that could disrupt the harmony of the galaxy. Just before Alara's probe launched, they decided to intervene. The day Alara's probe launched was filled with anticipation. Her team gathered in the control room, eyes glued to the screens. The countdown began, and excitement buzzed through the air. However, as soon as the probe entered the wormhole, it triggered a chain reaction that disrupted the balance of energy in the ZYNTH's territory. The ZYNTHS misinterpreted the event as an act of aggression and concluded that humans were hostile. A ZYNTH named Skrell, an ambassador for their race, was assigned to address the perceived threat. Skrell approached Earth's leaders, demanding they cease any further attempts at interstellar exploration or face retaliation. Alara and her team explained that they had no intention of causing harm, but their words fell on deaf ears. The ZYNTHS had made up their minds. They would isolate humanity. Meanwhile, tensions grew among the galactic civilizations. Each race feared that the chaos from Earth might spill over into their worlds. One by one, they would cut off trade and communication, leaving humans isolated. Alara felt dread in her heart. She watched as her dreams of exploring the universe slipped away. In the midst of this chaos, a small group of humans decided they could not surrender to the fear others had of their kind. Alara joined them, forming a team composed of her colleagues and a few brave volunteers. They called themselves the Seekers, dedicated to proving that humanity could be a positive force in the universe. Their first plan was simple: to build their own ship and venture out into space. With limited resources, they pooled their knowledge and talents. Alara led the engineering for the starship, while others worked on navigation and life support systems. Days turned into weeks as they toiled, fueled by a burning desire to show their worth to the cosmos. Finally, their ship, named the Hope, was ready. It was small, handcrafted with every ounce of care, but it symbolized their spirit. As they prepared to launch, doubts crept in. What if the ZYNTHS were right? What if they truly were a threat? But Alara reassured her team, drawing on the strength of humanity's ability to adapt and connect. They could build and create something beautiful. When the Hope soared into the vastness of space, the team felt both fear and exhilaration. They left Earth behind, determined to find a way to communicate with the ZYNTHS and earn their trust. As they navigated through unfamiliar galaxies, their journey was filled with wonders. Glowing nebulae and sparkling star clusters dazzled them, but time was of the essence. One fateful day, they stumbled upon a ZYNTH colony on an alien planet. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The ZYNTHS lived in harmony with nature, their cities woven seamlessly into the landscape. Alara gathered her team and came up with a plan to make contact. They used their ship's communication systems to send a peaceful message to the colony. The ZYNTHS were cautious. Skrell, still skeptical, was sent to investigate. As he approached the Hope, he felt a mix of curiosity and apprehension. With his sharp intellect, he evaluated the situation and the humans aboard the ship. Alara stepped forward, her heart pounding. She explained their mission. They only wanted to explore the universe, not to conquer or disrupt. She shared their story, their hopes, and their fears. Slowly, the ZYNTHS began to listen. Alara saw a flicker of understanding in Skrell's eyes as she painted a picture of unity and peace in the cosmos. Skrell was torn. His people had always believed that humans were reckless, but the passion and honesty in Alara's words challenged everything he thought he knew. After a long, tense silence, Skrell shared the ZYNTH's fears and worries. The two groups talked into the night, each learning more about the other. Days passed, and the conversations blossomed. Skrell invited Alara and her team to the ZYNTH capital, where they were welcomed with cautious curiosity. The Seekers demonstrated their technology and offered to share advancements in energy and resources. In turn, the ZYNTHs shared their wisdom of balance and harmony with nature. The alliance slowly began to change perceptions. Alara's team helped the ZYNTHs in overcoming a drought that threatened their crops using their technologies. In return, the ZYNTHs taught them how to live with respect for the environment and other races. Humanity showed the galaxy that they were not a threat, but a potential source of inspiration. The story of the Seekers and the ZYNTHs spread throughout the cosmos, overcoming prejudice and fear. Other alien races watched and learned about the bonds that formed from understanding. Slowly, they too reached out to humanity. As humanity found its place in the stars, Alara's heart swelled with hope. The world that had once shunned them now embraced them, forging new friendships and alliances. No longer rejected, humanity became a beacon of unity in the galaxy, proving that with understanding and compassion, even the most daunting challenges could be overcome. The stars were no longer just distant dreams. They were home. The year is 2342. Earth, once a vibrant blue marble, was now a beacon of hope in a galaxy riddled with prejudice. Humanity, having finally achieved interstellar travel, had extended a hand of friendship to the cosmos, only to be slapped back with scorn. The Galactic Concord, an alliance of several advanced alien species, had deemed humanity unworthy due to their violent history and perceived lack of sophistication. Earth was denied entry. Its ships turned away, its ambassadors ignored. Rejection echoed across the stars. But humanity, resilient as always, didn't crumble. Instead, they turned inward, focusing on their own growth and technological advancement. They terraformed Mars, established thriving colonies on Europa and Titan, and built massive space stations that dwarfed even the Concord's flagships. Dr. Eris Thorne, a brilliant astrophysicist, was one of the leading figures in humanity's resurgence. He had witnessed the Concord's disdain firsthand and had vowed to prove them wrong. "We will show them what humanity is capable of," he had declared in a speech that went viral across the solar system. "We will build a better future, not just for ourselves, but for anyone who needs it." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, a young Xyler named Alara lived a life of quiet desperation. The Xyler were a gentle, telepathic species known for their artistic abilities. But their pacifist nature had made them vulnerable to the KRYLL, a warlike race that had been systematically conquering planets on the fringes of the Concord. The Concord, bound by its own bureaucratic red tape and internal squabbles, had turned a blind eye to the Xyler's plight. Alara's home planet, Xylos, was on the verge of falling. Hope was fading, and despair was setting in. One day, while scouring the planetary archives for any sign of help, Alara stumbled upon an old, forgotten file about humanity. The file described the Concord's rejection and humanity's subsequent rise. Intrigued, Alara reached out telepathically, sending a desperate plea for help across the vast gulf of space. On Earth, Eris was monitoring deep space communications when he received Alara's message. The raw emotion and desperation in her telepathic cry moved him deeply. He immediately brought the message to the attention of the Terran Council, the governing body of humanity. The council was divided. Some members were wary of interfering in galactic affairs, fearing the Concord's wrath. Others argued that humanity had a moral obligation to help those in need. Eris, with his impassioned plea and unwavering conviction, swayed the council. Humanity would answer Alara's call. A fleet of Terran ships, led by the flagship Dauntless, captained by the seasoned veteran Eva Rostova, set course for Xylos. The journey was long and arduous, but the crew was driven by a sense of purpose. They were no longer just fighting for humanity's survival, they were fighting for the survival of an entire species. As the Dauntless approached Xylos, they were met by a chaotic scene. KRYLL warships bombarded the planet, while Xylar civilians desperately tried to flee. Eva, a hardened warrior with a compassionate heart, didn't hesitate. She ordered the fleet to engage the KRYLL. The ensuing battle was fierce and unrelenting. The KRYLL, with their superior numbers and aggressive tactics, posed a formidable threat. But the Terran ships, equipped with advanced technology and manned by skilled and determined crews, held their own. Eris, who had accompanied the fleet as a scientific advisor, worked tirelessly to develop countermeasures against the KRYLL's weapons. He analyzed their attack patterns, identified their weaknesses, and relayed the information to Eva in real time. Alara, using her telepathic abilities, guided the Terran ships through the KRYLL's defenses and provided them with valuable intelligence. She became an invaluable asset to the Terran fleet, bridging the communication gap and helping them anticipate the KRYLL's moves. Slowly but surely, the tide of the battle began to turn. The Terran ships, with their superior technology and tactical prowess, started to inflict heavy losses on the KRYLL. The KRYLL, caught off guard by humanity's unexpected intervention, began to falter. Finally, after days of intense fighting, the KRYLL fleet broke ranks and retreated. Xylos was saved. The Xylar, who had been on the brink of extinction, erupted in cheers and gratitude. They hailed humanity as their saviors, their sanctuary in a galaxy that had abandoned them. Eva landed on Xylos and was greeted as a hero. Alara rushed to meet her, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "You saved us. You saved my people." Eva smiled warmly and embraced Alara. "You're welcome," she said. "We were happy to help." The rescue of the Xylar had far-reaching consequences. Word of humanity's bravery and compassion spread throughout the galaxy. Other oppressed species, inspired by the Xylar story, began to reach out to humanity for help. The Terran Council, emboldened by their success, established the Interstellar Relief Organization, IRO, a humanitarian organization dedicated to providing aid and protection to vulnerable species. Humanity, once rejected and scorned, had become a beacon of hope for the downtrodden and oppressed. The Galactic Concord, witnessing humanity's growing influence and popularity, began to reconsider their stance. Some members, impressed by humanity's achievements, advocated for their inclusion in the Concord. Others remained skeptical, clinging to their old prejudices. Eris, now a celebrated figure throughout the galaxy, was invited to address the Concord. He spoke eloquently about humanity's past mistakes and their commitment to building a better future. He emphasized the importance of unity, cooperation, and compassion in a galaxy filled with conflict and division. "We are not perfect," he admitted, "but we are learning. We are growing. And we are committed to making the galaxy a better place for all." Eris's speech resonated with many members of the Concord. They realized that humanity, despite their flaws, had something valuable to offer the galaxy. After much debate, the Concord voted to extend an invitation to humanity, offering them full membership. Humanity, after much deliberation, accepted the Concord's invitation. They joined the alliance, not as supplicants, but as equals. They brought with them their advanced technology, their unwavering determination, and their unwavering commitment to justice and compassion. The galaxy was forever changed. Humanity, once rejected and scorned, had found their place among the stars. They had become a sanctuary for the oppressed, a force for good in a galaxy desperately in need of hope. And Eris Thorne, the man who had dared to dream of a better future, watched with pride as humanity finally took its rightful place on the galactic stage. They were not just survivors. They were saviors, proving that even the rejected could become the sanctuary.